I'm Jodi Morris. I am a park ranger at Little Rock Central High School National Historic Site. Central High School was built in 1927, and it was the largest, most expensive public school building in the entire United States. Was for over 20 years. But that's not why it became a National Historic Landmark, or in 1998 became a National Historic Site, a unit of the National Park Service. The reason why it got those designations is because of events that happened in 1957. And in 1957, Central High became the first major test of the Brown versus Board of Education decision of the United States Supreme Court, when the court declared that separate but equal was unconstitutional in public education, because in fact all schools weren't equal and students were not getting equal access to an education, a violation of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. The Supreme Court declared that in May of 1954, but school districts around the country and in the 17 states that had statewide legal segregation didn't leap to implement it. And so there were actually 3 little school districts in Arkansas that began integration almost immediately. They were very small. They had very few black students. But the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People saw that happen, heard the governor say he would not intervene, that was a school board decision, he would leave it up to the school board. And so they picked Arkansas as a place to push forward and make sure the Brown decision was actually implemented. And they focused on the largest school in the state and the largest school district in the state in a city that was 30% African American to make that happen. And so the Little Rock School Board was ordered by a federal district court to come up with a desegregation plan and actually begin implementing it. There were a lot of students that volunteered, African American students who volunteered to actually be the first black students to go to Central High. It was a voluntary desegregation plan with black students volunteering to go to white schools. And a lot of the students, to the school board's surprise, actually wanted to make that leap to do that because they knew Central offered programs, classes, opportunities that their own school didn't. Even though their high school was considered the best black high school in the state, they knew Central was nationally recognized for academics, for athletics, #1 high school football team in the country in 1957, and for this big grand building. And so those students wanted to go to school here. Eventually, 17 students were approved. After they began receiving threats, 10 actually showed up to attend school on September 4th, 1957, but they were greeted by the Arkansas National Guard under order from the governor to prevent the African American students from entering the building. Okay, September 4th, 1957, 10 of the African American students who had been approved by the school board, those still remaining from all those who had volunteered after threats had been received, arrived at the school to begin attending, and they were greeted by the Arkansas National Guard, who, under orders of the governor of Arkansas, Orville Faubus, refused to let them onto campus. And because the governor had given a press conference the day before announcing that he expected thousands of protesters in the street and possibly blood if the black students tried to enter the school, there were over 150 reporters from all over the world. TV technology just gotten to the point they could broadcast live from location. And so all of America and most of the world watched as a student is turned away by armed soldiers in front of Central High School. Of course, eventually the Little Rock Nine do make it in. Not until the president actually federalizes the Arkansas National Guard, taking it out from control of the governor, and sends in U.S. Army troops, the 101st Airborne Division, to Little Rock, Arkansas to escort those students in. It's the first time in almost 100 years that the federal government has actually used its full authority to enforce the 14th Amendment and African American rights to equal citizenship. So it sets a precedence with the courts, with the federal authority, with the federal government, with the president, and what we will do with civil rights. It sets a pattern for how the U.S. military and the Arkansas National Guard and other National Guard units will be used throughout the civil rights movement. And of course, those 9 black students become role models for youth across the country, and the youth become at the leaders of the civil rights movement at that point. So Central High is a very important story in the American Civil Rights Movement. And this big, beautiful building that probably would have been a National Historic Landmark anyway, because it was very innovative at the time it was designed, so ornate, so grand, so everything over the top. But it's because of those students, 9 students, that it's a National Historic Site today. And the most interesting thing about Central is it's still a high school. A lot of our visitors to the National Park site are shocked when they find that out. Oftentimes they come in the middle of the day and stand in front of the school. It looks just as quiet as this little statue because all the students are inside in their classrooms. And so from the outside it appears quiet and almost abandoned. And they don't realize there are 3,000 people inside when you count the faculty, the support staff, the security, the cafeteria workers, everybody that's there. And sometimes a National Park Ranger with visitors on tour. So it's a very unique National Historic Site. The only National Park unit that has an operating public high school is its main feature.